Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to talk about the regulatory considerations for compliance essentials, which means that institutional policies, guidelines, regulations that we need to be aware of when we use AI in academia. In this session, we are going to talk about three major compliance essentials that govern the use of AI in academic research. The first one is about institutional policies, which means that the different companies, the institutions, universities, or agencies, they have different kinds of policies that govern faculty, students, research, or even their organization members use the usage of AI. The second one is about the funding agencies' requirements. There are a lot of funding agencies that provide research grants, and that involves high stakes, because it's lots of money and financial resources, and they need to be careful about whether people use AI appropriately before they apply for research grants. And the third one is quite common. The different research outlets, different publishers have different principles and regulations on using AI because they publish lots of research papers and writings. So in the end, we want to know what kind of attention we need to pay to in order to understand how to appropriately use AI in academic research. The first part, institutional AI usage policies, addresses the first compliance essentials. This particularly important to students and faculty members because it's kind of reshaping our institutional landscapes these days. For example, students are using AI for their assignments all the time, even for their presentations. So we need to be aware of how to comply with the requirements. Institutional policies are still evolving. Many companies, organizations or universities are still thinking about it or are in the process of developing guidelines for the members to use AI more appropriately. This is the area we need to pay strong attention to because it directly concerns us. NSYSU, for example, has created guidelines for using generative AI for academic work. Why? Because the students now pretty much use generative AI, ChatGPT, to write or even to do presentation. And the writing project and paper submission in the end of every semester, it's very concerning. My personal experience, I remember the first year when I came here, AI hasn't been popular yet. ChatGPT did not really come out yet. But the second year, after it came out, it became really popular and students started utilizing it for writing. You can tell the whole paper pretty much is written by AI, but you didn't have a proof. You can only say that, okay, it looks like robot talking. And therefore, now university is very concerned about that and then create this guideline. So things that students can do or should not do has been regulated. Students are encouraged to use AI for concept coloration. Maybe they can publish text and make sure their writing is better. Maybe try to juggle idea, maybe improve their critical thinking, maybe finding some alternative solutions for the inspirations. AI can also help literature review, as we addressed previously. For programming fields, maybe they can even help, make their source code a little bit more optimized. And so we can use AI, but we still need to be careful about academic ethics issues. We need to pay attention to proper citation. We also need to engage in critical thinking. We don't want to use AI to replace academic work altogether. And there's things that we should not do when we use AI in our research process. We don't want to use AI for plagiarism or ghostwriting, which means that we just totally, copy from somewhere else. Or ghostwriting means to use AI to write, writing. You don't contribute at all as author. We don't want to use AI for exam cheating either. AI is very efficient, true, but cheating, it's the serious, offense in academic integrity. Therefore, we don't want to committed to that. And then we don't want to violate privacy. If you use AI tools that may have some images or content that violate other people's data privacy, that will become a problem. Therefore, we don't want to violate the privacy concern. The academic issues are very much encouraged. Therefore, inappropriate citation, it's not allowed. It's considered violations of academic ethics. And also, over-reliance on AI tools, it's also considered as violations. What do you mean by over-reliance on AI tools? Use too much. If you use AI too much, people can tell it's pretty much written by AI, or the image is pretty much all created by AI. You do not contribute much at all. In this case, we consider it as over-reliance on AI tools. In this case, it's a violation of academic ethics. So we need to be really careful about that. The funding agency also has requirements. Funding agencies now, the government's process grant proposal, and then it's a high number of stakeholders, and it's high stakes involved because it's financial and lots of multi-million dollars or billion dollars involved. So we need to be careful about copyright infringement, content ownership, or authorship consideration that we discussed previously, because who can get the grants, who can get the money, depends on your authorship. Depends on your contribution. If you use AI tool too much, AI cannot be a co-author. You cannot use AI to get money for you, to get grant for you. So the declarations for using AI tool becomes essential. And then there's strict limitations for using sensitive subjects or data. In Taiwan, for example, National Science and Technology Council is the largest grant funding agencies. Every year we try to apply for grants to National Science and Technology Council by the government. And they review lots of research projects, and they of course, release guidelines on the use of AI tools. What can you do? What can you not do when you use AI tools? Because it concerns the authorship and content and the copyright, and which leads to whether they will approve or disapprove your grant applications. And publisher is also probably the direct involvement in these AI ethics issues, because they publish papers, they concern with the authorship most directly. Therefore, they constantly update their policies to help authors and researchers to know what might be important principles to use AI tools for publications. Pretty much all the publishers nowadays have requirements about authors' declaration for using AI in their research project and writing their papers. They will need you to declare how much AI is used, or whether AI is used or not, and how to use AI for which purposes. And no publishers will allow AI authorships or AI-generated images material. Some even ban the use of AI together. Because AI cannot be used in the publication process. For some publishers, they are very strict about this process because they want to grant authorship to only humans. And so we need to pay attention to the publishers' principles, particularly for doctoral students, because doctoral students' dissertations will eventually be published somewhere in some journals. We need to pay attention to different publishers' requirements and principles. Read them carefully before you submit papers to them, or even before you start your research work. For example, Elsevier is one of the publishers, of the major publishers in the world, in terms of the academic world. They have listed guidelines and principles for using AI tools. Here, for example, they even capitalize tool. T is in capital letter. So AI tool is a specific term in Elsevier domain. You see, they address many issues. You need to follow the privacy and confidential requirements. You don't want to violate any ethical issues for privacy and confidentiality issues. You also need to, as authors, disclose the use of AI tools. How much AI tools used to preparations or writing up. You don't want to use AI too much, and you also cannot list AI tools as a co-author. You cannot cite AI tools as co-author or an author either. Because AI is not human. Author, co-author, it's only dedicated, referred to a human. Elsevier does not permit the AI-generated tool images or use AI tool to change images for your manuscripts, which means that the previously published images from somewhere else, you can use AI to change them and use in your papers for publications. These are not allowed at all. So this is an example from one publisher. And all in all, we need to pay attention to quite a few things. Researchers and authors need to take responsibility for our own work. We need to pay attention to the originality, the authenticity. We can use AI for a lot of things. It's quite efficient, it's quite standardized, and the quality is very consistent. But it doesn't have that kind of creativity or originality. We need to make sure it's our own research work, it's our own voice, it's our own finding, it's our own research topics specifically done by us. So there's authenticity involved that can convince people that's done by you. And then most importantly, we need to make sure that we don't violate academic integrity issues. Academic ethics, it's highly valued in the academic world. So students, faculty members, all together, we need to make sure we ensure data confidentiality and privacy. We need to make sure like data identity has been removed. People cannot identify, participants. We cannot know who they are. We cannot use their personal data. We also need to be careful when you use AI. They may have a copyright infringement because the image they created, data source that they use may be from someone else's work, but we may not even know about that. So we need to pay attention to the potential issues of copyright infringement. And then data transparency is also very important because how AI generates content, it's unknown. Therefore, we need to know how participants participate in the process and how AI generated all these contents. We need to make sure that we document it systematically, and which part is done by AI, which part is contributed by AI or refined by AI. We need to make sure it's quite transparent. And the last thing is about the authorship issues. Using AI in the research process involves authorship, but we need to know AI cannot be co-author, AI cannot be your author or co-author. Therefore, their contribution should be minimized as much as you can. So we don't want to over-rely on AI. As NSYSU guidelines indicate, we don't want you to use AI too much. Over-reliance on AI is considered violation of academic ethics, which means that you use too much, it becomes violations of the rules, which means your semester project or even your thesis could be failed. Your work could be meaningless. Therefore, we need to be careful on that too. That's all for this section. Thank you.